So we're in Plymouth and now it's boat maintenance time before we cross the Bay of Biscay. We were talking to some people yesterday who were inquiring about our trip and sailing across the Atlantic and then around the world, and they were looking to do the same. And one of the questions they had is, not on many YouTube videos, was there any information about the cost and the pitfalls and items that you have to do. So we just thought we'd do a quick video today of us on a maintenance weekend of what we're going to do before we cross the Atlantic. So Fiona's there is putting masking tape on the waterline before we anti-foul. So she's going to have a pressure washed yesterday and then a clean coat of anti-foul with at least 2 coats on the waterline. And we're doing this over a weekend. So to keep the costs down, we were hauled out on 4 o'clock Friday afternoon, and she would go back in at 8 o'clock on Monday morning. And the guys at Plymouth Yacht Haven have been amazing. But also while she's out, not only have we cleaned the waterline, we've also cleaned the prop shaft and the propeller, just take any muck off it, and you can see it's come up really clean. Then we check the anodes. So the anode on the end of our maxi prop is looking good, and we have 2 anodes on our prop shaft, which are looking good. But our main anode on our bottom of the boat was badly corroded, so we've replaced that. And then if I just wander around slowly, numerous seacocks that we have and grounding plates for our SSB radio. We have our fridge coolers, and sadly the anodes on them have definitely gone and will need replacing. And then what we've also done, we've replaced the anodes on our bow thruster, and the bow thruster anodes were pretty in a poor state, so they've been replaced with new ones. So by the end of this weekend, we'd have checked all the seacocks, look at the outside of the boat for any visible signs. So for example, we look at the keel joint and make sure it's all sound. We haven't hit the bottom at all, but again we do look at the front of the boat, just make sure it's looking good. And then we can get ready to put it back in again on Monday morning. But cost wise, dear me, this weekend work is probably going to be fairly expensive. So we have bought some additional anodes to ensure that we got supply while we're away for a couple of years. But in the last 4 days on the anodes we've ordered, we've spent probably somewhere around about £600 on anodes. And then obviously anti-fouling. Anti-fouling's been around about £700 of the anti-fouling, and that is just 1 coat. And then the lift out and back in again is probably going to be another £400. So, you know, it's over £1,500 just for a weekend's work that we're going to do on the boat. But the anodes will probably last us probably 6 months to a year. Some of them will last a bit longer. The anti-fouling, we'll have her again back out in Fiji to re-anti-foul her again. Clean bottoms means a faster boat for us, which is really important. But the maintenance, you just got to keep on top of it, sadly. It's one of those things. So what we have here is our fridge cooler anodes. All our anodes, the nuts or the any bolts we put in, we use a Loctite 2700 thread locker glue. And that ensures we put some of that on the thread or on the bolts, and that just ensures that when we screw the anode in, we lock it on with a nut or the bolt, ensures that it actually stays there and doesn't come loose. So one of the jobs we would do also while the boat is out, and depends on what type of prop system you have, if you have a sail drive or shaft, and then the actual type of prop. But in our case, on our maxi prop, we have 2 grub screws. You can see grease just written on there, and we'd actually pump that with waterproof grease with a grease gun and pump it till we actually see grease start appearing out of it, and then we know that it's full and compact. This has already been done for us already in March, so I won't do this again until probably she comes out in St. Lucia, and just pump it for the grease. So 2 coats of anti-fouling we've managed to get on this weekend, which is absolutely fantastic, because the next stop for anti-fouling will be Fiji which sounds pretty amazing when we're currently in Plymouth. The best part of anti-fouling is when you take the masking tape off to show a neat, clean line around the waterline. So that's what we'll be doing next. So you can see a before and after picture. So masking tape's been removed on the left hand side as you look at it. The right hand side, the masking tape's just about to be taken off, and it's a good feeling when you just see that clean line of anti-foul. So one of the other jobs we're going to do this weekend is clean around the engine and generator exhaust outlets and the transom of the boat. We run a dry exhaust for both the boat engine and the generator, and we just get a lot of soot coming out and a dribble of blackness, which is not very nice looking on the back of the boat. So we wash it down after each trip to keep it as clean as we can, but every now and again it's good that we can cut it and repolish or compound and repolish that area to keep it nice and clean. And then we put a thing called A-glaze, which is a coating on there, UV protection coating, which makes it easier to wipe away the exhaust stains once we've finished motoring. So one of the last jobs that we have for the weekend, which doesn't show any instant results like anti-fouling, is treating our teak decks. You might just be able to see in the video there's some dark stains on the teak decks, and basically that's basically a bit of growth, a fungal growth. It's been so wet in the UK, and while the decks have been washed thoroughly with salt water that's come over the boat as we've been sailing, we've still had some growth come through. So this is something we normally do twice a year. It's very, very simple to do. We use a product called Wessex Teak Treat, and basically don't dilute it, just put it on with a straightforward brush and a pot, and we just brush it on and just let it dry. It's got to be done on a dry day, but you just have to let it be there for, let it soak in, let it dry, and then over a period of a few weeks the teak decks look great again. So Fiona's just asked how I'm getting on. I'm getting on really well because I'm just standing here videoing her working, but I'm doing really well because I've almost finished the glass fibre area where the exhaust is. That's almost done, so hopefully by about 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon we'll be finished. So we're now down to the last job of the weekend. We've completed everything else. On the water intake, we're just going to make sure that no anti-fouling is blocking the slots to make sure we have a clean water flow. It's very easy to slap on the anti-fouling and just block it a little bit. So literally we've just made sure we're giving it a bit of a clean with a screwdriver, and that is the final job of the weekend. So we're done. Time for a beer. So certainly Fiona and me are going to have a beer now. 2 days solid work. We've completed all the jobs we set out to do with some careful planning, ordering everything in advance. The boat's looking good. Santi's looking good to go in tomorrow morning, and so we'll be back here for 7:30. So we're ready to meet the guys to put her in at 8.